Everybody, I'm Rhea Fiken. I'm here with Ron Riley. Please stay tuned for more of this brand new As Time Goes By special. You must remember this. We're going to tell you how you can get a copy of it, but more important, I want to tell you the great news. We have as a guest right here in our studio, Philip Bretherton of As Time Goes By. Well, it sounds as though our friends from As Time Goes By are going to collaborate on quite a biography. Ever since Straight-Laced Lionel ran into the irrepressible Gene, things haven't been the same for either one of them. And you can call either one of these numbers, 1-800-222-1292 or 1-800-775-6788. We have volunteers, and our volunteers are members of MPT who, like you, love As Time Goes By, and that's why they're here. Now,
all right, couldn't even hear you. The phones are ringing. Thank you, Rhea. Hi, everybody. I knew it was going to be a big night tonight. Just driving up the driveway here at our Owings Mills studio, I had the feeling as time goes by, just the melody, it's like a warm blanket, and the show.
I'm here, of course, with Philip Bretherton. And Philip, thank you so much for visiting us once again. Is this your third visit?
This is the third visit, yeah. It's beginning to feel a bit more like home now.
Every time I watch the series and every time I talk to you, I am astounded by the many ways you are not like Alistair.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know you're an actor, and I know that doesn't make any difference, but he's a very different person from you, isn't he? Well,
he's got a bit more chutzpah than I have, and he's certainly got a lot more money than I have, and he's probably got a lot more self-confidence than I have as well. You know, I mean, he gives off that air of, you know, confidence all the time, and I find things like this a lot more intimidating. If I was playing Alistair now, I'd probably find things like this easier to do. But
well, maybe we should do one of these breaks with you as Alistair instead of you as Philip.
That might be the idea. Yeah, that might be the way to go.
Yeah. I need to ask you what everybody wants to know: what it is like to act with this star-studded cast, and what they are really like.
Well, when I first started this, and that's quite a long time ago, you know, I was intimidated by it because even then she had that great reputation. She was one of our greatest stage actresses. She didn't do as much screen work then as she certainly does now. And I knew of him by reputation, and I always thought, well, maybe what you see is what you get. You know, maybe he's that quite grumpy, quite irascible sort of a guy. But he's a pussycat, and she's lovely. I mean, you know, people always say this about stars and whatever, and you sort of take things with a pinch of salt. And so they'd always said, oh, she's great, she's easy to get on with, you know, she's always the first with a joke, and but it's absolutely true. And you know, anything that anybody's ever said about her is absolutely true. She's an absolute angel, and
it was a devastating time for her when her husband passed away.
That's
sure.
Right. That's right.
From everything I read, and she was on shows on the Charlie Rose show. She talked very openly about her love for him and her relationship and how bereft she was, and just threw herself into work.
That's right. That's right. I mean, they were a very, very close couple. I think whenever he was away working, or whenever she was away working, he would send her a single red rose every day.
That is
while they
so
were away,
lovely.
You know.
By the way, when you call and make a pledge, if you want to ask Philip a question, just give your question to our volunteer, and Philip will try to answer as many of them as possible when we're on the air. I do want to remind you that we're here to get you to call, and that our thank you gifts are at the $100 level. The VHS or D career right now is just blossoming and booming. What are you doing?
So far, so good. Well, when I get back from here, I've got about a couple of weeks off when I'm hoping to move flat. If I can't move flat in that 2 weeks,
that means he's moving from one flat
to another one.
Right, in American.
Yeah. Okay. I'm moving from one apartment to another.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be hiring a U-Haul. That's what you do over here, isn't it? So. I'll be moving, and I hope I can move before I go away, because if I can't, then Sherry's going to be pretty upset because she'll have to do all the moving herself.
And where are you going away?
I'm going to North Wales, and I'm going to do Blythe Spirit in Old Cowd Play there.
And you are doing?
I'm going to do Blythe Spirit, and I'm
part.
Yeah, I'm playing the part. Yeah,
the part.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I think pretty soon after that, if my luck goes the way I think it's going to go, I'll have about a day off, and then I'm going to do a TV series, which I've been doing just recently in England.
And what's it called?
It's called Footballers' Wives, and it's about footballers' wives, but with the emphasis on the wives part rather than the football.
Well, we'll find out more about that and whether we might get a chance to see it sometime, but please keep calling. It's really wonderful. We're going to talk some more with Philip. I want to hear what you want to find out from him. I know you want to find out about Sherry. We'll talk about that in a little while. Now let's go to Ron.
Okay. Maria, I'm lip reading. There's so much noise up here. It is such an outgoing of telephone conversations. I didn't hear a word you said, but I'm sure it was a good interview. He looks amazing.
You know, Philip, one of the things about as time goes by, and about all the Britcoms that is extraordinary, is that the caliber of acting, the direction, the sets, the everything is much greater than most television that we're accustomed to watching. How is it that television can get such outstanding actors as you and the rest of the cast?
Well, I think we probably make less of it. There are fewer channels in England. I mean, that's changing now because, you know, there's a proliferation of cable now. But a lot of those channels are going to be doing, you know, reality TV and things like that. And so because we make fewer programs as well, because, you know, we don't have to remake all that money back, so that a sitcom in this country will probably make 23 episodes. So, you know, if you're going to make 23, you've got to employ a huge team of writers. You know, the work's going to be, you know, very, very intensive. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of American comedy I adore, you know, and I'm an absolute addict of American comedy when it's shown in England. But, I mean, I'm glad you think that about English programming, but I think it is probably because, you know, we make less of it so we can concentrate more on all those elements of it.
Well, I think there are probably other reasons as well. I do want to tell you we're going to be talking to Philip throughout the evening. Do you ever wear one of those shirts with your picture on it?
No.
You wouldn't be caught dead with it.
Well, no, I mean, that would be just going that little bit too far in terms of ostentation, I think, wouldn't it?
Well, when you go away and you're going to be gone from Sherry for a long time, do you make sure she has several of them to wear so she can have her picture? Yeah,
I think she could probably sleep in one, couldn't she? That's it. So just in case she misses me in the middle of the night, she can just stand in front of the mirror and go, there he is.
There he is. Yeah. And one very fast question in 30 seconds. You've done Alistair so often. Is it just second nature to do him? You get a script, you don't have to think about the character much?
Well, they write to...
I get everybody, Ron Riley along with Rhea Fiken, and we invite you to stay tuned for the conclusion of this brand new As Time Goes By special. You must remember this. Let me tell you about some of the wonderful thank you gifts that we have for you. And you know, we have VHF and DVD available as well. Special guest today is Philip Brotherton of As Time Goes By. Well, as we've just seen, love can be beautiful the second time around. You know, this show is so wonderfully written, so wonderfully acted, you can't help but get caught up in it, even if they're just rearranging the furniture, you know. We've seen Lionel and Jean deal with the aches and pains of getting older. When the program continues in a few minutes, there's going to be some interesting facets to it. This very special series, incidentally, was written entirely by one writer, rather than a team of gag writers like you have in the United States with a lot of our sitcoms. Writer Bob Larby has taken a simple idea, young lovers who reunite in their twilight years, and he's given it a depth and intimacy that you just don't see much on television these days. And you know, at MPT, we just feel privileged to bring our viewers unusual programs like this, ones that wouldn't have a home on commercial channels. And your membership dollars do help us acquire and broadcast programs just like we're watching as time.
I'm here with our wonderful MPT volunteers. Now, all the people who are here tonight are members of Maryland Public Television. They are also great fans of As Time Goes By and of Philip Brotherton. So it is like a love-in here. I mean,
Philip and I were just chatting about here being about the same height. Do you always wear suspenders?
No, I do with this particular pair of pants, but they sort of went out of fashion a bit, didn't they?
Pretty colorful at times. You have to be thin, though, to be able to wear them properly.
Oh, I don't know. I'm carrying a bit too...
I think we all are. We kind of molt over the winter seasons.
Yeah, it's watching these reruns that really makes me think, my God, I wouldn't get into that suit again. You know what I mean? So.
You know, you didn't have, well, you had some faith in as time goes by when the first couple of episodes came out, but you were surprised at its evolution in North America, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. I mean, we make it for a domestic audience. I don't think they ever, make it with an idea that it'll export quite as much as it did. And
Oscar Wilde up in Toronto, I think, and you saw the program and said, wow, they're showing it over here.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
And people liked it. Well, demographically speaking, when the program was written, it was written for a segment of an audience that I think the writer felt wasn't being served.
I think that's true. I mean, so much of, especially in commercial television terms, I mean, obviously, in England, this goes out on the BBC, which is a public service broadcasting system in itself. But, they're always chasing that magical 18 to 34-year-old age group, and everything seems to be aimed at them because...
But you're doing for television. You said it's on ITV over there at this point in time?
That's right.
New show.
Yeah, it's called Footballers' Wives. I think I mentioned it early on. And it's about footballers' wives, but with the emphasis on the wives, really. And so it's, young men who are having, bucket loads of money shoveled at them, and their wives at home with a lot of time to spend buying shoes and indulging in various things. So it's like a Dallas or Dynasty sort of thing for today, and it's proved quite successful over there. Pretty scandalous as well. It's pretty scandalous material.
It's making the papers.
Yeah.
Well, now listen. I know everyone is watching you and listening to what we have to say, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. But I do want to get the phones ringing again if we can. They've stopped a little bit while folks are saying, "Oh wow," But now we're going to talk a little bit, just briefly, about the gifts and pass it back to Rhea. But $100, you get the as time. Really terrific, Philip. As I mentioned, the folks who are calling in all have the opportunity to lay a question on you.
Sure.
Now, there's not really any sneak previews on all of this.
Okay,
I did sneak preview on one. I have to be honest with you. Where is it? Oh, yes. Someone said they enjoyed you so much in the striptease.
Oh, right. Yeah.
How feel you about that?
Well, I wasn't too pleased about it, I have to say, because I thought, what if they forget to stop at any point? Because they said, just go on and while you feel comfortable with it, and then we'll just call it up.
Right, I remember that.
So, I'm going on and thinking, I'm going to get down to it all here, and they're not going to stop me. And so in the event, I called a halt myself and I said, that's it, you don't pay me enough to get this. So.
Someone wanted to know, how long has the show been on the air?
I guess the first one we did in 1991-92. So we're talking about 10, 11 years now.
Looking at the program today with the amalgamation of all the shows together, you see subtle changes in the styles and the hairstyles.
That's
Not so much in the aging of the people. Like Judy looks great all the time. As I mentioned earlier, so do you. 2 years, we've been in a time warp here, and you're back here again and looking great. Philip, are any members of the cast friends off camera?
Yeah, we see each other, occasionally throughout the year. It depends whether work demands, work allows that. Both Jenny and Moira both live in Brighton, which is, outside of London on the coast. So if I get down to Brighton, which is, 3 or 4 times a year, I can get to see them down there, and they've got kids and family down there and everything. So, they're not as mobile as they might be. But if I get the chance, I see them,
Question is, Philip, does your wife do any TV? And have you any children?
We have no children at the moment, no. And she does do TV occasionally, but mainly she's been touring in theatre in England for the last couple of years. So it's nice to have a home for once.
Thank you, my friend. It's so good to have you back.
Thank you very much.
Television. I can speak for everyone. They all feel the same. We invite you to stay tuned for the conclusion of this. Maria just mentioned $17,000 toward a $20,000 goal. There wasn't an awful lot of noise in here. Not a lot of applause. And I'll tell you why. It's because everybody was on the telephone. This is a love fest tonight. You could just see how people not only love the Britcoms, but love the ones we're showing tonight. And Philip, well, he'll be back as well. Rhea will be.
Questions. These are from our viewers who have called in. First of all, what is your favorite Britcom?
Now you'll have to give me a moment to think about that. There are 2 I like. Both of them are quite Irish, actually. I quite like Father Ted. I don't know whether that's Ed here or not.
Yeah.
And there's one called Black Books, which I like.
Yeah, I don't know whether we have that here.
Absolutely fabulous, I like as well. And I have got a soft spot for as time goes by, I've got to say that.
Of course you do. This is not my question.
Okay.
What is Jeffrey Palmer doing now?
I think Jeffrey Palmer's probably fishing at the moment. and doing voiceovers. And he tends to take life quite gently at the moment. I think,
That's very nice.
He's that kind of a guy, and quite relaxed. And
Why in your show do you get a quick half a pint instead of a whole pint? Because you do it so often, you might as well get the whole pint.
Well, that says more about British drinking habits, I think. Somebody's got an opinion about British drinking habits there. But no, you often talk about swift half. It's a bit like, you know how they always say a nice cup of tea? Nobody has a cup of tea in England. It's always a nice cup of tea. And if you have a half, it's always a swift half. So you haven't got time to spend over a pint, so you go in and have a half a pint instead. And, you know, especially on a set, a half a pint is a lot easier to cope with and a lot easier to clean up if you have an accident. So it's always safer to have a half.
Listen, we're going to keep asking questions, but we want you to keep calling because obviously the British comedies are very popular here on public television. Supporter called to make a pledge and said that her husband died recently, and As Time Goes By was his favorite show. So I think that's very sweet. Did you get married in real life?
No, I didn't get married in real life. Did I say last time that I was thinking about it? Well,
yes.
Did I? I must.
Well, actually, you were thinking about it, but I don't think Sherry was all that interested.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know why everyone assumes that if you're not married, it's your choice.
Oh, that's true.
All right, we'll continue.
We've moved on, haven't we?
Yes. How old are you, Philip?
God, that came out of left field.
It's right on this paper.
It's on the card. I mean, there's no obligation to read it out. I'm 47.
You don't look 47, but of course everybody tells you that, right?
Well, I don't know.
You're like a baby. You look like a baby. This woman called and said that her 9-year-old grandson likes to watch As Time Goes By. Can you believe that?
Well, that's the record age.
Would you like to do a play in America?
I'd love to do a play in America.
Would you?
Absolutely love to do a play in America. I'd love to tour in America. That's what I'd really like to do.
Well, does your success and fame as you get it in England, will that possibly make that happen?
All these things are up in the air. I mean, I take my work where I can find it, and if those circumstances work together, then it could happen. But it's as likely as anything else,
God, that would just be wonderful. We're going to do something that we do always here at MPT. We're going to start a clock now, Philip. It's a 5-minute clock, and it means that you have just 5 minutes left to show your support for this brand new As Time Goes By special and all the rest of the great British comedies on MPT. Don't forget, for $100, the video or the DVD of the program that you're watching, or if just finished, is Bucks Fizz.
Bucks Fizz is a drink. It's made from champagne and orange juice, and it's the sort of thing you have for a luxurious breakfast.
Oh, sounds good.
So a sort of wedding breakfast drink. And there was a joke about it in the in the show. Somebody said, fizzing back to Bucks Fizz. And this was all to do with the fact that bucks obviously were young dandies, and I think that's whom the young buck, that's whom the drink was named after. But Bucks is also the shortened form of Buckinghamshire, which is a county in England. So,
all right, good. And what's the derivation of the expression Dismal Jimmy?
I have never heard that expression before.
Really?
That must have come up in the show somewhere, and I haven't heard it. But it might actually have been coined by Bob Larby, so I think the writer may have come up with it.
And finally, were any of the actors who portrayed the L.A. Hollywood studio people American, or were they all British?
No, the majority of them are Canadian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so because there are quite a lot of expat Canadians who... because it's a lot easier now, but in the old days it was quite difficult for Brits to work in America and Americans to work in England without special arrangements because of having to be reciprocal union agreements. But Canadians found it easier. So a lot of them are Canadians and
characters and the story. So you can tell by this, and I could just talk to Philip all evening long, but we do need to remind you that we just have a couple minutes left for you to call in and support this special. As Time Goes By, you must remember this. And you can do that by making a pledge of $100 and getting the video or the DVD.
Saturday, college football.